everybody, Jeff Morrell here with Sean Sturrock, my buddy. I've known Sean for about 11 years now. He's been in real estate for 5 years. He's built just a huge team and has a really powerful story. We're going to dig into it. So stick around. Here we go. Good afternoon, Sean Sturrock.
Yes, sir. How are you doing, Mr. Jeff?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Supposed to get some rain here in Colorado. It's cooling off. I'm ready for fall. Is it still hot down there? Are you hot down there in Dallas?
But yes, we have this week, rest of the week, crazy 95, 96, 97. Come Monday, 87, and it shows all 80s next week as of now. So thank God.
It was 89 yesterday. It's 63 today. So anyways, we're all over the board. But anyway, look, I got my Freedom Team swag going on over there. So.
Name on it. Gotta love it.
There you go. Got to thank Kim. Kim getting us those mugs. We got to start selling these to the Freedom Team group.
We do.
Definitely. So, man, I appreciate you being on here. I know you're busy going all over the place. So 5 years in this business. But prior to that, you've got a lot of story. We've known each other for a long time. So let's dig into it. Just go back as far as you want to go. Let's tell your story a little bit and how it kind of led to you getting into real estate. Let's talk a little bit about that. So
Well, first of all, man, I appreciate you doing this. I'll just take you back a little bit about me, my background. Been married to my beautiful wife, 27. Careful on that one. 27 years or 28 years.
She's a saint, Sean.
I got two awesome kids. I got a 26 and 23-year-old girl and boy. I've been very fortunate and blessed. I grew up in corporate America. From the moment I came out of college, kind of doing what my dad had done, been in the corporate world and thought, he had always done pretty well. So I was going to follow in his footsteps. I did that for about 20 to 25 years. And I found myself at that point going, God, I don't know if I could do this till I'm, 60, 65. Had started to save, was setting aside, doing pretty well. But just long story short, I just started to meet friends, meet other people that were more entrepreneurs, that had more flexibility in their schedule, were making more money than me. And then I started to even meet some people that had created passive income and started to learn about that about 20 years ago, which was extremely intriguing to me. I figured out a way to try to get my time back and keep making money. So just found myself about probably 15, maybe almost 20 years ago going, man, I just started to kind of search and looking for something else while I had my corporate job. I've always been told, when do you look for a job? While you've got your job, right? Where you're not desperate.
Yeah. And,
dibbled and dabbled in a few entrepreneurial things. And long story short, if we go back it's now been almost 6 years ago. And I was dabbling in a few different things and came across a friend of mine who owned an oil and gas company. I know you and I kind of talked about this, so I was going to be careful how I present this, but I had about a half a dozen friends of mine. And everybody was sharp. I had business owners, doctors, everybody that I highly respected, friends of mine, and we knew the owner. All of us did. He, along with the owner, along with all six of us, took a huge, hefty amount of our savings. How about I'll tell you? I'm not going to give you the number, but everything I had saved up in about 20 years, and I dumped it into this oil and gas investment. Why? Because the other half a dozen people and the owner, everybody put a lot of money into it. And we all thought we were going to make 3 to 4 times our money in about 4 to 6 months. The oil industry at that time we invested was doing phenomenal. It was like some 6-well deal, whatever. Not to go into the details. It just like 98% done deal. And because we knew the owner, we kind of felt like we were on the inside of this thing, and he had put a bunch of money in. I say all that to go, Jeff, right after we did it, about 60 to 90 days later, the oil industry just tanked. Went down about another $40 to $50 a barrel went down, and literally all of our money, all of our investment gone overnight. And I say that to you to go, I didn't tell my wife about it. I didn't tell my parents about it. I was going to surprise my wife thinking, man, I was going to book a trip to Paris. It was going to be an incredible 2-way getaway. Anyway, was so excited about all of it. When that happened, it was crushing. I mean, I went from having a little bit of money set aside for my family, right? Wife, 2 kids, all of a sudden found myself at age 50. This is about 6 years ago, gone. I'm back basically at zero going, oh my gosh, I don't think I'll ever retire. So now I became very open-minded to going, God, please put something in front of me where I can somehow make up the difference for this incredible mistake I had. And that's kind of what led me into the real estate, and we can kind of get into that. But anyway, that's kind of a long story short of my first 25 years. Did pretty well and all so forth. But then all of a sudden, everything I saved up, I had lost it, and found myself 5.5 years ago going, please, Father, give me something. Oh my gosh. And that's kind of where I was. And I think that's what brings us to me getting into real estate to begin with.
Talk about that whole time period right there. I mean, just, because again, the stress that can go along with that,
Oh yeah.
what was it like? I mean, obviously you had to, at some point, I'm assuming had to talk to your wife, like, okay, so we need to talk.
Yeah.
That had
It's,
to be a
man,
challenging
without even
conversation.
try not to get emotional about it. It's crazy. It takes me back to when it all went down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was not a good situation. You can only imagine.
Yeah.
Tears are, shedding and the whole thing. My mom and dad are like, what in the world have you done? What were you thinking? So it wasn't a good time at all. I mean, it was very stressful. Obviously, we were trying not to bring it up around the kids at all or anything like that. It was more just from that point on, I was on a massive search, and it was almost like I was back to square one, but ultra hungry, going, just please, there's got to be something I could do to make up for lost ground. And it's been now about 5.5 years ago. And, I'm a believer, and I just started praying. My wife and I were praying. I kept going, God, give me something I can do. What could I please do to get myself back to where at least I was and start to grow it from there? And man, I had about 3 or 4 different things happen, people and so forth, that kept steering me to the world of real estate. Well, I'd read the Robert Kiyosaki books. I knew that wealth had been created in real estate. So I thought, man, maybe I could get into real estate and maybe get some rental properties set up, do some flips. And while I was starting to go down that path, I thought, well, might as well get my real estate license, save on some commissions. This is all again about 5.5 years ago. So while I'm taking classes, I'm doing online classes. While doing that, I'm probably I'd interview with about a half a dozen brokers. And then 3 weeks before taking my test is when I saw EXP. And I remember when I saw, go ahead.
But before you go there, just real quick, I just want to ask you. So, and again, not to harp on it, but let me think about this. How important would you say? Because again, one of the I remember when I first got into real estate.
Yeah.
My first day in the office, and my broker hands me a book, which I'd never heard of before at that point. This is 20 years ago. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he's like, you got to read this book. Everybody I know who's successful has read this book. Anybody making any money, they've read this book. They've read it multiple times. The first thing you need to do is read this book. I came home and I put the book on the shelf, and it sat there for probably 5 or 6 years. To be honest, I didn't read it. I'm too busy. I'm getting my real estate going. I've got my websites. I'm new in the business, right? How important? Because I know, obviously that's kicked in for me over the years. I finally realized, like, wow, like how valuable that personal development is. All these books, like I've got books over there. Those are just dumb books. Those are, Stephen King, and just like, let me escape for a little bit. These books over here, which takes up this whole entire wall, is all either personal development books or Christian books that I read, whatever, different things. But it's all about working on me, working on myself, working on this. Yeah. How important was that? How big was that for you when you hit that wall? Because again, overnight you lose everything. It's like starting over. It's like, did that play a big part in you getting back on your feet, would you say?
Absolutely. If I even go back, when I came out of college, I remember I wasn't out but about 3 or 4 years. So I'm 56 today. So this is going back a ways. And you remember the 6-pack of cassette tapes? I don't remember how I got the first 6-packs, but I think it was Zig Ziglar, Closing the Sell or something. Then I was introduced to Brian Tracy and some of the folks back then. Yeah. I started to consume those, where every time I started up my car, I turned over, a cassette tape would turn on. And I began to feed my mind. That got me into listening to more, reading more. So to take you up to where I was when all that went down, I try to imagine, had I not had all that in my head, I was already at a low place, but I can't imagine. I would have probably bottomed out. And, you hear some of the horror stories when life gets that bad, what could happen. I wasn't at that point, but, it was pretty ugly. So I began to dig internally going, okay, listen, I know what I need to do. Right, is get back out on my horse and just start to ride again. But I had to find a vehicle that could hopefully get me there a lot quicker than traditional businesses by just being an employee. I didn't want to start up a business. I had several friends doing that. I know the chance of getting a business up and running and being successful is pretty slim. So yes, personal development was massive at that time. Matter of fact, when all that went down, one of my good friends, which was a pastor of a church at that time, is the one who led me right back into personal development. He said, listen, you need to start feeding your mind again right now, because you're in a low place. You need to be optimistic. You need to have a good outlook. So you need to change the way you're thinking right now and get that negativity out of your head. And I remember I began to consume all of that again. That was about 6 years ago, because I've gone through waves in my life where I've consumed a ton, and then all of a sudden I've taken several months off, and somebody turns me on to something, I listen to it or read it, and it kind of gets me going. And it's been ebbs and flows, but it definitely was something I was taking a lot in right after this all went down.
Yeah. And I wonder, as you were talking, again, I'm just kind of going off the cuff here. I don't have everything prepared for this, but it just got me thinking about that, because I think even right now in real estate, you've got all these realtors right now that have gotten their licenses in the last couple of years, and the sky is falling, and the market's shifting. And, honestly, I think there's huge opportunities in this market. I saw a thing the other day, Grant Cardone, whatever he said, the next 18 months is going to be the biggest opportunity in the history of real estate. And I believe that. I really do. My biggest years in this business were between like 2009 and 2011, and it was like now they were tough deals, but we did more deals than any other time in my 20-year career during that time. And I'm seeing that right now. Like, I'm seeing there's a lot of agents. They're busy. The good agents are out there. They're hustling, whatever. But then there's this stat that comes out from NAR, a couple of weeks ago. What was it? 8% of realtors in the U.S. in like the first half of this year have done 4 deals or more, something like that, which means that 92% have done 3 deals or less. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, that's crazy. But I think a big part of this right now is there are a lot of realtors out there who they're scrambling. Keep hustling, hustle.
Yeah.
Work on all the things you need to work on with your business. Get out there, talk to people, whatever. But get into these books. Work on. This is a great time. You could easily take an hour a day, or definitely in your car while you're driving, an audio, and you can start filling your mind with really good, productive, personal development kind of stuff. And I think the agents that really do that can work on themselves. Work harder on yourself than you do in your job.
Yep.
And you'll make more money than everybody else, because you become so developed, and that's what happens over time. I'm just a big proponent of the personal development. And right now we have more time to do those kind of things and focus on that than what we've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So I think it'll play into some of these agents going through the challenges, because they are, and you went through some huge ones. And I know it had to be a big part of you, at least getting through that time, Yeah,
you're right. And I know we just created that website where we've now started to put all those videos and books, and you can go get all that stuff on YouTube and everything, but at least we have it all in one place if anybody wants to go, and if you wanted to post that, we'll put it up there. But
for sure. Yeah. expfreedomteam.com. Anybody wants to go there, I would go there. There's some great stuff on there, but we have a whole section now just on this kind of stuff.
And a lot of like 4, 5, 6, 7-minute videos that are very inspiring and all that kind of stuff. So
quick stuff.
Definitely, it's a great time. Like I told you, when I leave here after this, when I'm going to head over to the gym, I'm going to be listening to an audio, right? I'm just starting to really get back into that over the last 30 days. And I love it, because it does. It not only inspires and motivates you, but it sometimes some of the hardest things that we need to do to build whatever business you're in, but obviously talking to realtors right now, is do the hard things first, right? We got to get used to being uncomfortable and try to almost fall in love with that. And all I know is what helps me do the uncomfortable things is when I'm listening to that personal development, being inspired and being motivated, and knowing that that's what I need to do, and making sure I do it first thing in the morning.
Yeah, for sure. I put a whole playlist together on my YouTube channel of just motivation, and it's these videos that I just love watching. And I thought, why not? I'll just add them in there. Other people did, and they're not my videos, but they're so good. I mean, when I start feeling that way, and just when I can get in my head, I can get in my head real easy.
Yeah.
And when I start going there sometimes, I mean, number one, I'll pray, I'll go for a walk, I'll shut it all off, just get out my Bible, get out one of these books, whatever. But I will watch one of those little 7-8 minute videos sometimes, and I'm like, I just want to go down. I feel like I run through a wall,
Yeah.
So
it
just helps.
Touch on one real quick. So, a lot of people, if you're into any of those kind of movies, Facing the Giants that came out years ago, right? That whole bear crawl scene. Like, you really want to find out, are you giving it your all? Go watch that little short 6-7 minute clip.
Yeah.
I just saw a movie, and I posted on Facebook a few days ago. Highly recommend it to you if you haven't seen it, called Running the Bases.
Okay.
And I put on there that, to me, it's as good a film as Facing the Giants in the War Room, which were all back 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is one of the best ones I've seen since then. called
Really?
The
Wow.
Bases. Just came out last week in select theaters. But anyway, phenomenal.
I saw you post it, and I made a note because I saw where it's playing here in Colorado Springs. Because I love anything inspiring like that. You know, Rudy. Oh, that's. I mean, I like. How many times I've seen Rudy 30 times. So there's
Yeah.
just certain
Yeah.
movies like that. I just, oh my gosh, if I'm by myself, I'll just cry like a baby.
Well, running the bases, bring a box
The
of tissues.
tearjerker.
Coming from a man, I'm telling you what, it was tough. Son, my wife and I are just like, you're trying not to bawl out loud in the theater, going, what in the world?
Yeah, that's awesome. So okay, so you want I got to start making some money. I need to make it a little bit quicker. You know, you start looking at real estate, whatever. You were going to do some. You were looking at fix and flips. Go back into that story here. So
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk more
So
about that now.
I had interviewed with about half a dozen brokers while I was going through the
Okay.
classes, and then I'm 3 weeks out from taking my test, and I'm having dinner one night with a friend of mine. You know him. His name's Rob Flick. He and his wonderful wife Jen, and we're having dinner one night, and lo and behold, he starts to give me a stock tip. He knew I was playing around with the stock market, and I started asking some questions about it. And we went back and forth, and I started to realize it was a brokerage he was talking about that he was saying that I might consider investing in. As I asked him more questions, I found out he had become a part of it. And I remember looking at Rob going, wait a sec, I thought you'd been retired for over 10 years. He goes, I was, Sean, but when I saw this brokerage, he said, it's going to change everything about real estate, the entire landscape and the way agents are being compensated. Well, I highly respected Rob, right? He had multiple houses. The guy was a millionaire. And obviously when he told me that he was now a part of this company, and I looked at him and I said, Rob, I'm going to be taking my test here in 3 weeks to get my real estate license. He's looking back at me like, what? He goes, you ever heard of this company? And I said, no. And well, that night he had already pre-called me before, said, hey, when I come over that night, I've got to step aside and do a webinar. Shouldn't take me about 45 minutes. He goes, would you have an office, something I could step? And I said, yeah. So I didn't know anything what it was about until we had that conversation at dinner. He goes and does the webinar. I'm sitting right behind him when he does it that night. So I'm watching it. And I remember, Jeff, getting stirred up and emotional, right? Because I've been praying, Sonia and I, and again, I'm going down the real estate path anyway. And then when I see this model, I'm like, oh my gosh, God, did you just put this right in front of me for a reason? I remember Rob turning around, looking at me going, man, he goes, he goes, give me some feedback. And what's your thoughts on it? I remember looking at Rob and I was kind of choked up. And I said, let me make sure I understand what I just saw there. First of all, are there other brokerages that are doing this, that are paying agents 3 different ways, can help them get set up for retirement, allow them to have ownership, passive income, all this? And he said, Sean, not that we're aware of. And I went, well, Rob, if that's a real thing, why wouldn't everybody just eventually join EXP? And he kind of looked at me and laughed. He said, well, Sean, one day we think they will. That was about 3,000 agents when I looked at it. Fast forward 5 years, we're at about 85,000. So what he said was true. And thank God I made the move. And it's been an unbelievable ride up to this point. I've been blessed beyond measure. And I know timing is everything, but if I spoke to that for anybody that might watch this, I really do think we are just coming out of the gates. All that we've done now is we paved the road, because it was a little tough those first couple of years, right? Not to go into all those details, but man, the road is paved right now. And it's been an incredible blessing to watch what's happening with so many agents and brokers who have aligned themselves with us. So it's been truly amazing, Jeff.
Yeah, it's been an amazing ride. And I remember when you called us. I mean, because for me, my wife and I'm so grateful for the business, love the business, love what we do. But there was definitely a period back, I don't know, 10 to 13 years ago, probably, just total burnout. I mean, just burnout. I mean, we were working like crazy and made a lot of money, but it was like, oh my gosh, I'm working 7 days a week sometimes, almost all the time. There was no shutting it off, going on vacation, being on my phone, in Europe, in Ireland, on my laptop. I'm like, what the heck? Like making me crazy. When I had a team and then they could handle a lot of it, but there was just still things I had to be involved in and just working, like around the clock. It was crazy times. Now, again, we had just moved into a new house, the house I'm in now. We were doing great. I remember we were so busy. I remember having some times where I'd be cleaning up my desk here, and I'm picking up papers and all stuff. Like, what's that? Oh, it's a check from the date on it's like 4 months ago. It's for like $8,000 or something. I'm looking, it's never been cashed. It's never been deposited. I'm like, what is this? Whatever. And having to, call the title company to reissue the check.
Yeah.
It was a closing we had. Good problem to have. I mean, there's just money coming in. Well, then, 2008 hits and the bottom fell out, and it happened very fast. And that lasted about 3 years. I don't know what this is going to be right now. It's not 2008. We're not repeating that. It's a whole different scenario, but we're definitely going through some stuff. I don't know what this is going to look like or how long it's going to last. But again, it makes me so grateful to be here
Yeah.
at this company. You called me 4.5 years ago, and at first I'm like, I'll certainly look, but I'm not moving. I was at 100% company.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. The big companies. I'm not looking to go pay a bunch of company back or money to a big company, and I'm just not going to be interested. But I'll certainly look at it. I've always been open minded, and I would tell you right now, guys, if you're watching this and you know Sean and you haven't seen EXP, call Sean. If you're a realtor, if you know me, call me. Like, you need to at least look at it because you
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know.
No doubt.
I looked at it. I remember I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, well, we can certainly look, but there's no way I'm moving. Been there, done that. And like a week later, we moved. It made too much sense to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I was blown away
Yeah.
when I saw this thing,
And real quick, not for me to reverse this interview, but what does life look like for you today compared to going back just 5 years ago? And now what's it look like?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, and again, so between you, myself, and and a few other leaders that we've partnered up with, Kathy Carter, Eric Golden, Tim Holland, and we get together, whatever, and put our heads together. We did not just come up with the name of this group, Freedom Team. Just let's pull names out of a hat. We thought long and hard about that name, because I think that's the thing. I think realtors get into this business because they think they're going to have that freedom. I can be my own boss. I can run my own schedule. I can get more time with my family. I can travel more. I can, all these things that and again, it can allow you to do different things. It's got to be set up right. Most of us get in, we set it up all wrong. We're running by the seat of our pants. We're not treating it like a business, whatever. And next thing you know, it's like you've created a monster if you get busy in this thing. And I just remember every January starting all over again at zero. I'm like, oh my, I would be depressed the first week of January. It's horrible. Because there was no freedom in it. And so I think that's the thing that I've realized here is that, and like I've got this going across the bottom, lots of things I could put down there. Time freedom. A lot of people have time freedom, but they have no money, or a lot of people have money freedom, but they have no time. They're working 90 hours a week to maintain that financial status. And then location freedom, down the road, if I want to, I could really do it even now. Keep my license active here in Colorado. I could live anywhere in the world right now.
Yeah.
And because of this model, I can continue to get paid on a monthly basis. There is true freedom in this model. And it's never existed before in anything I've seen in this business.
It's funny you say that, because you and I get to talk to agents and brokers all the time, but I hear stuff similar to what you're saying, January 1st starting over. But that the word that I've heard many agents tell me, just they're tired. Right. Yeah. They love the industry. They love working with consumers, but they're tired and they don't see any end in sight. And unless you're truly a good investor and you've been setting money aside, and obviously all of us have now taken a hit in the shorts here with stock market, crypto, whatever you might be investing in. But to truly have something where you don't have to get outside of real estate. Most people, I remember before getting involved in this, a lot of the agents that I knew, they were realtors, but they did something on the side. Right. And it was something on the side was trying to create passive income. To think that we have it all in one area right here where you can just focus on real estate and, the carrot's out front of you to do as much production as you can. But over here, it's out even further because now it's saying, look, you start producing more, the ownership, the equity piece can build up. And man, I love this story of your buddy, Aaron, right after I called you, I'll just share with you guys. It was incredible. I called Jeff and Jeff, like he said, within about a week moved over. And in the first couple of weeks, he picks up the phone. I'm in Dallas. And Jeff's up in Colorado Springs. Well, back in my backyard is one of his best buddies, Aaron Ken. They've known each other for, at that time, was about
20 years.
Yeah. And he called him, and Aaron was a big producer, right? At that time, he was running independent, had about 47 million he was doing with about 9 agents on his team. He takes a look at this model, and what was incredible is, he was the rainmaker there in the office, right? He ran the brokerage, and he was doing about 23 of the 47 million. I remember when we pulled his numbers out, his office was upside down. So Aaron, within a matter of a few weeks, he makes a move over. I can't remember if about 5 or 6 of the agents first came with him. And who came with him? The ones that were the producers, the ones that were brand new. I think some of them left. But anyway, he came over, and it wasn't 2.5 years later, right? He picks up the phone. He had, our company had went public, the stock piece, and that thing was on a, ride upwards. And he called you and said something like, listen, Jeff, I've been in real estate for 19 years. What happened the last 2.5 years has entirely changed my life. He grabbed 1,000 shares, cashed them out, paid his car out, paid his house, and unreal story. Yeah. And today he's so thankful and grateful that he's now got a business in the kind of volume he does. I mean, he's going to create serious equity for he and his family, retirement income, exit money, whatever you want to call it. So there's so many things about this brokerage I love. but
Right.
that is the piece that's automatic, right? If
Yeah.
you've never seen this model and you want to reach out to either one of us, that equity piece is big. You can come and do the same thing you've always been doing nothing different. You will look up 4 or 5 years from now, and I love how you've always said, they'll look up and at least you'll have options,
Sure.
right? You'll have other income streams because we pay multiple ways. So it really is a truly incredible vehicle that anybody owe it to yourself to not just look at it, do a deep dive, do a true comparison with where you're at. And if you stay where you're at and went 5 years forward, what does life look like? Versus if you came over here in our model and went 5 years forward, because there is no comparison. And that's not being biased. We've all learned that over the last several years. So it's really been an amazing, amazing ride, and owe it to everybody to take a serious look.
So talk about it for you, because again, brand new agent, you come over here, you see with Rob, so you haven't been anywhere else. You hung your license at EXP right off the bat. You're going to do some fix and flips. That's it. Again, here's your intention going in, getting your license, not to build a big real estate business, but just to be able to list your own properties and do your own deals and that kind of stuff. It makes sense. Maybe do a few homes here and there, friends or family or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you come over here and you start reaching out to some agents, because we can do that. It's a small percentage of agents here that do it.
Yeah.
But you saw that, whatever. You started reaching out to some agents. Talk about what that's been like for you.
Yeah. So I mean, when it first started, I remember going, all right, because I was so blown away by the model. And Rob, who I highly respected, who was a millionaire, who came out of retirement because he said the model would change the landscape of real estate. So I'm overwhelmed going, God, this is unreal. This could change the entire industry, but how many agents' lives could it truly bless? And at that time, I remember thinking about the agents I knew, and I had a few of them that I knew and they worked their tails off. And they were bigger producers, but they're working 7 days a week. They're on call, everything like you said. Can't truly take a vacation, all that. So I thought, man, maybe this entire model could change their life forever. So I got excited about what it could do to help them. So I remember reaching out. I went through my list of everybody I knew, and I came up with about 12 agents that I knew that were friends of mine, right? About a half a dozen I was in good contact with. They were close friends. Other ones maybe had been a year or two or so. But I reached out to all 12 of them the first 30 days, and I truly was wanting their opinion. I'm like, man, I've just seen something unlike anything that's ever existed in real estate. Man, I'd love your serious feedback. They are all friends of mine. Thank goodness they all took a look. And Jeff, within 7 months, 10 of those 12 came over. And all of a sudden, not only did their life begin to change, but mine began to change in a hurry. One of the guys I brought on board, Jay out of Nashville, this guy was a huge producer, right? Doing about 20 to 25 million a year, had been at Remax for 13 years. Like he said, he lived and breathed Remax, loved it, wasn't going anywhere. It was his family, everything. And I remember Jay took a look at this model, and before he looked at it, I'll never forget him. He said on the phone to me right before he's getting off to jump on the webinar. He said, Sean, I'm going to tell you right now, you got a 1 in 1,000 chance of ever showing me anything I haven't already seen. He goes, Sean, I'm literally called almost every day. Someone's trying to market something to me. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, I totally get it. Just give me your feedback. He watches the presentation. Right when it's over, Jeff, literally calls me on the phone and said, Sean, that's the most brilliant brokerage model I've ever seen in my life. He goes, I knew somebody would figure it out one day. And then he said to me on the phone, and I've used it ever since. He goes, Sean, you know what they've done? Guys, I'd had my license for 3 weeks. All I'm thinking about is how do I do a transaction, right?
Yeah.
Said to me, he goes, Sean, they've taken the model and they flipped it on its head. Instead of making the agent the last one paid, they made him the first one paid. I showed Jay at 4 o'clock, Jeff. At 6 o'clock, he shows his beautiful wife. At 8 o'clock, he's on a phone call with Rob. At 10 o'clock, he signs up day one.
Wow.
And I say that to you guys, he was a well with a lot of influence. Agents, followed him all the time. He came over, and within 60 days, 10 agents came and joined him. Well, the way our model's set up, it began to impact my family. While I was blessing his family, he was blessing mine, and the whole thing took off from there. And it's, like we said, just been a truly amazing ride up to this point. After that, it was just a matter of, I was so blown away by the feedback I was getting from the agents who were partnering with us and how they were all going, I've never seen a brokerage like this. There's so much camaraderie. There's so many agents willing to help each other. I fell in love with it even more and became more passionate when I saw Jay pull the trigger day one after saying he would never go anywhere and he loved his brokerage. Not only did my confidence go up, but I began to think, man, this really, really could impact agents all over the place. So I just began to reach out more frequently. And within a year's time, it was amazing. We had several hundred agents on the team in my first year, and I was a brand new agent. So all of a sudden things just began to shift. And I thought, what could I really do to bless not only these agents now that have joined the team, but how many agents and brokers around the country, if they knew this model existed and truly understood it, what could it do to impact their family? And that's
Yeah.
the journey that we've both been on for a while. It's been incredible.
So powerful. Yeah. And so now you're able to override all those agents'
Yeah.
deals. So the
Yeah.
deals might be down a little bit, because of this kind of market we're in, but still there's a peace of mind about that. You've got agents now, what, 5 years in the this is crazy to me. Five years, April was your anniversary. So 5.5 years, whatever. 5.5 years as a realtor, and you've now got a team, quote unquote, a modern team, an EXP team, not your traditional team, whole different deal. You don't have to take care of them. You don't have to feed them leads. You don't have to do all the stuff, babysit them, all the stuff that goes on with a team. I had a team for 15 years. It's all good. I'm grateful for it. But once I saw this, I'm like, wait, I don't need to have that team anymore. Whatever. So you got a team now of how many people?
Ooh, it's up over 2,500 agents. I mean, Jeff, I still pinch myself today. And if I can put that in perspective for a minute, I've only reached out and sponsored, should we say, sponsored or referred 54 agents to EXP in 5.5 years. That's not even right at 10 agents a year. So nothing remarkable. Yet those 54, what happened is a little chunk of those saw the same thing. They saw freedom and how this brokerage could bless agents. They began to reach out. And all of a sudden, I remember just looking up after the first year going, is this really happening? And back to that, here I was right before joining EXP. I'm emotional because I'm so scared of where my future could be with my family. And will I ever be able to retire and really take care of them? Fast forward 1 year after coming here, and all of a sudden I'm emotional in another way. I'm emotional with so much gratitude, so much joy, so grateful that someone took the time to let me take a look at this model and that I took action. And I've looked up today, and it's not only my 100% debt free, but now it's how many agents can I truly help get to where I'm at? Now, obviously, you got to want it for yourself, but at the same time, you can come over here and do what you've been doing, and life does start to look different. Like we said, 3-4 years down the road, you've got options. And you and I know now hundreds and hundreds of agents whose lives look totally different 3 to 4
Completely.
years into this.
Yeah, for sure. So 2,500 agents, 47 states?
Yep. 47 states, last I counted a couple months ago, in 7 countries.
7 countries.
And I've never reached out to anybody in another country, FYI. It
Yeah.
just, it happens. There's people that got contacts, relationships, family, whatever, in other countries, military, whatever it is. And it can
Sure.
be simple as a Zoom, share with somebody the
Sure.
model, and they join and
They,
all.
they did a deal. Their clients were from another country, and those clients referred them to friends that they know in those other countries. And now you're
Exactly.
talking. And there's all kinds of ways that can grow. But I love that idea because now you can recession proof your business.
You got it.
For 16 years, 15 years, whatever, me being in the business prior to EXP, I got paid on what I did and what my team did in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
If this market's moving, we're making money. The team's moving. We're busy. If this market slows down, turns backwards, crashes, whatever, my team crashes, we all crash, whatever, we're picking up the pieces. We figure it out. We get through it. But again, I got paid like all the other realtors out there. That's how it works. Well, now I get paid on what I do like I always did. Nothing changed there. My wife and I still doing 45, 50 deals a year. But now we get paid on all these other agents' closings all over the country. For us, we're in 4 countries now. You're in 7. And all of our economies are different. We're getting ready to open Dubai.
Yeah.
Like that's coming here in the next few weeks, like there's no recession in Dubai.
Yeah.
Whatever things might be a little different, but again, it's like and I don't know any agents in Dubai. I will tell you, just in the last week, I've started connecting with agents on LinkedIn in Dubai and Instagram. You can do the hashtag Dubai real estate. I'm just starting to follow different people. Why not? They can start seeing what I'm doing. And when we open over there, absolutely, I'm going to just put it out there and I will get some agents reaching out to me. Hey, I saw EXP open. Show me how this works in Dubai.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
it's like now to get paid on every time they have a closing because that's how this works. And that can build to where it's more than enough to cover your bills.
Absolutely.
So did you get your direct deposit today? Mine came in today.
I did. Yeah. I know we can't share that number.
But it's nice when it comes,
Yes.
So yeah, I'm high 4 figures, sometimes hitting 5 figures. I'll just tell you, you're mid 5 figures. We'll just put it out there. We don't need to get an exact number, but yeah. You're doing good. So is your wife happy about this decision? Is she happy about this one?
Well,
she's forgiven you for the other.
I'd always had a dream, Jeff, to bring her home from work. I had out of all my friends, 15 or 20 close friends, I only had 2 of them whose wives had been home, and this has been for 10 or 15 years. And I remember always thinking, God, I'd give anything in the world to bring her home. I really would. She'd like her her and I both have been working since we were 15 years old, and she was working nonstop. I was. And when this thing took off, within about 18 months after coming over here, I was able to bring her home, and she is in heaven. She
That's
spends
awesome.
time with a lot of her girlfriends, goes to lunch. She's got several different Bible studies she's a part of. She's part of all these different social groups. So she's on the move, but it's just fun, relaxing, and not having to worry anything about time and money. And now her and I are taking, now that the pandemic settled down, we've already gone on 2 vacations. We leave again in, you and I are going to probably be out in Vegas here in October, but her and I are going on another 7-day cruise in January.
Nice.
Yeah, we're looking at another trip in March. So all of a sudden now, as things get, back to normal, I can see us taking 6, 7, 8 vacations a year and not having to worry about anything. Let me take this back, and I'd love for you to share this real quick as we wind this down. Here's what this can do for you. You guys, again, I don't want to get emotional with this. The moment I started thinking about it, I get emotional. But and this happened to your daughter too. My son, about 3 years ago, this November, he had a skateboarding accident and he hit his head real hard, ended up in ICU for 8 days. And he was in Austin. I live in Dallas, about 3.5 hours south of here. Worst phone call you could ever receive. I'm only telling you that story to go, I'd been here for 2 years. Praise God, things were really rolling at that time. And to go down to that hospital, her and my wife and I sat in that hospital room for 8 days straight, never had to think about anything because the money was coming in. I say that to go, didn't mean to say that. Didn't mean to go
You're
that
good.
far.
You're good, man. It's awesome.
It's just so grateful.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That
brother.
kind of stuff that changes your life.
It does.
And here's and stuff like that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
We're not ready for that stuff.
because I know you had I know it's happened to your daughter, but that's not quite the story you were going to share. But what happened with you? And even though it was prior to EXP, you had some passive income. But share your
I had passive income coming in, and yeah, we had. I went in and got diagnosed with prostate cancer. I mean, total curveball out of nowhere.
yeah,
Not ready for that. Whatever. Had surgery. Clean bill of health since. Grateful for it. But for about 6 months, no real estate
yeah,
on purpose because we could afford not to.
yeah,
I could focus on my marriage and on my kids and on my health and just healing up and recovering. We weren't, yeah, it's gonna be a little tighter. We're not having real estate closings, but
yeah,
we weren't stressed out on how we're gonna pay the bills. And
yeah.
most people listening to this in real estate, they're 2 or 3 months away from being completely out of business.
Yeah, because
Rob Flick, Rob went through that back in the 90s and lost everything.
yeah,
Foreclosure on his house, bankruptcy,
yeah,
like all kinds of stuff that happened to him. So again, that's why he joined Keller Williams, their profit share model, and did very well with that back in the day.
yeah,
Whatever. Which is why when he saw this, he's like, this is a no-brainer.
yeah.
You
And
know?
when that whole thing happened with my son Dalton, I'm sorry I got emotional there, but
No, you're
it
good.
wasn't just the 8 days, but after that, there was a lot of recovery, rehab.
Truly.
We must have met with 10 different doctors in a matter of 90 days. So there was at least 3 or 4 months after that happened. I wasn't working much at all. One, my head wasn't in the game. We were so worried about all the things that he was dealing with. So yeah, just an unbelievable blessing. And to think that, you look back on life and not to go down to push this on people, but being a believer, it is so interesting how you look back on life and certain things happen. And you're like, didn't realize why it was happening in that time until you're here present moment. You look back and go, wow, there was a fork in the road. Because I went this way, here's what took place. Thank God I went that way and not this way, or sometimes it's vice versa.
Yeah.
But that happened, and that also made me just truly appreciate what we have hold of, and that much more passionate to go. No one knows. My son was just showing me a video early this morning. People probably know these stats, but 1 in 2 men will get cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 3 women will get cancer. And let's hope to God, anybody watching this, and you and I, we don't ever have to deal with that ever.
Sure.
You've dealt with it once, but I think about that and go, I think most agents and team leaders, brokers, whoever out there, you don't think it's ever going to happen to you, like you said.
Sure.
But that's just one stat, right? Who knows all the different things that could possibly happen. But if you're not aligned with some kind of a vehicle that can truly set you up to where, God forbid, something like that happens, what would happen to you if you're viewing this today and you couldn't work for 3, 4, 5 months? Car accident, whatever it could be. And everybody's in different situations, but this is simply a model that's going to help get you in a situation where 3, 4, 5 years down the road, God forbid, if something happens, at least cash flow is coming in. Because everything we all learn about today, cash flow is king. How can you continue to have money coming in whether you're working or not? And that's what this vehicle gives us.
Yeah. I remember, several years ago, my dad passed away and cancer, and he was living in Florida. And I just remember, like, for me, it was easy to just pick up and go. I want to go down there for 3 weeks and spend some time. I'd come home. I went back multiple times. Now, here's my sister and my brother, who don't have any kind of passive income. And we're all very close. I'm not down on anything with that. But my sister she could fly in for a weekend, Friday night, get there, have to leave Sunday because she's got to be back to work Monday. And here's what it is. I could go and just be there for, a month at a time, different things. And there's just so many examples of where, just because everybody listening to this, life will happen to them in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully not health. For some, it will be health. Hopefully not car accidents. For some, it will be car accidents. For some, it might be just this economy right now, this market, and where's it going, and no closing for how many months, and having to pick up extra work, whatever. But life is going to happen to everybody in some way, shape, or form. And I'm telling you, it. I know it. 98% of the people out there, they're not ready for it. Very little in savings, very little, prepared for it. Most people in real estate, they're 2 or 3 months away, literally, from being out of business. Done. Can't do it anymore. Gone.
And it's not just the revenue share piece, the equity piece. Think about right now, all the agents that are with us that have been here 3, 4, 5 years. Some got tens of thousands. Some have hundreds of thousands
of stock. Yeah.
If all of a sudden things really, really slow down for that person, they can go cash out 10,000, be able to cover their bills for a month or two. And so there's just so much additional flexibility that you're really looking for. The freedom and flexibility, you can have it. It doesn't happen overnight. But man, to think that 4 or 5 years down the road, life can look different. I always say, can't imagine what 10 years is going to look like.
Oh my goodness.
For anybody that's here that's producing. I mean, we've already, what's the stat we heard about 6 months ago? Over 100 people had run over 7 figures in equity by doing nothing different over here than just selling houses.
So just in our group. That was just in our group. Rob Flick's group. Rob talked about that, which we're part of his group. Yeah. I mean, that's huge with that, I don't know how many in the whole company. It probably had to be 4 or 5 times that. Rob's got about a quarter of the company, in his business. So anyway, we're trying to catch up to Rob, which helps Rob also. But anyway, no, we're having a great time. I think, when I saw it 4.5 years ago, I'm like, wow, what if this thing does what I think it could do? I'm like, what do I have to lose? I can always go back to where I came from. I knew I wasn't locked in here, like nobody's locked in anywhere. Whatever. I'm like, if it doesn't work the way I think it could work, I could always go back and I'll probably get a better deal. They don't want me to leave. It gives me negotiating power, But I'm like, what if it does what I think it could do? And I know for me, and I know for you, it's done way beyond
dreams.
Whatever I thought it would do.
Absolutely.
For sure. And so you're right. I can't imagine where we're going to be 4 or 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Oh my goodness. It's crazy to even, without question, the best business decision I've ever made in my entire life. Out of everything I've ever done, and you're the one that showed me. So thanks for calling, Sean.
I'm thankful and grateful. You are a huge leader on this. Like we talked about already, we've got just a group called Freedom Team, and Jeff, you're a massive asset to it. And I'm forever grateful and thankful that you looked. And I'm glad your mind was open. It's you've been a blessing to my family and I definitely know the Freedom Team, what you're doing here to bring value is incredible.
Yeah, well, and likewise, we're all working together, so having a good time with it. But well, Sean, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for everything that you're doing, guys. If you if you know Sean, you're a realtor, and you know Sean, and you can be anywhere around the country, any country we're open in. There's 22 of them now. But if you know Sean in any way, just reach out to him and just take a look. We're not pushing this on anybody, not selling this to anybody. It's just you owe it to yourself, your family. If you're an independent broker owner, you owe it to your brokerage, your agents, just to at least look at it and evaluate it. If it's for you, great. If it's not for you, great. At least you know how it works. You got to make that decision, but without looking at it, you don't know what you don't know. And so, I would say just at least look. But and if you know me, and you're following me, and you haven't seen it yet, just reach out to me. If you have any questions for either Sean or I, you can put them in the comments here, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're all over the place right now. So don't hesitate to do that. We will definitely get back to you and get those questions answered. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. Sean, appreciate it. Guys, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.